Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pro Bono Happy Hour. I'm David Lipscomb, Director of Strategic Communications for PBI. Let's get started with a little bit of housekeeping. The 2016 PBI Annual Conference is coming up on March 23rd to 25th in Washington, D.C., and we want to see you there. Get more information about the conference and register online by visiting www.probonoinst.org/conference. Now on to our latest episode. This week, PBI's Eva Richardson spoke with Kathy Ochroch of Blank Rome. Kathy spoke to us about her firm's decision to implement a mandatory pro bono policy and the challenges of doing so, her firm's involvement in the Department of Justice's Clemency Initiative, tips for partnering with in-house legal departments on pro bono, and more. We hope you're comfortable wherever you may be, whether that's mid-commute, on your lunch break, or working at your desk, and we hope you enjoy the interview.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining us on the Pro Bono Happy Hour. We're looking forward to talking with you today. Why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your pro bono program at Blank Rome?
Sure. Hi, Eva. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Our firm at Blank Rome is a national firm with also an office in Shanghai, and we have, as of last week now, 620 lawyers firm-wide, and the pro bono program is really robust. It's gotten even more so in the last couple of years. We instituted in 2014 mandatory pro bono for all of our attorneys and paralegals, and that's taken what I think was a strong program and really made it tremendous. I'm really proud of the accomplishments we've had in the last year and really excited about some of the things we've been able to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask about how your firm has kind of improved its pro bono performance over the past year or so, and that's really been astounding. And just I wanted to ask about this process and what it was
Sure.
like implementing a mandatory pro bono policy. So, like, what considerations did you have to make, and what are the pros and cons?
Well, to the firm's credit, it was actually it was something that the chairman of the firm challenged the chair of the pro bono committee, Grant Palmer, who also chairs our litigation department. He challenged Grant and me to come up with ways that we could improve our pro bono program. He really said, he liked what we were doing, but he wanted it to be better. He wanted more, which I completely appreciated and respected because I felt the same way. So Grant and I put our heads together, and we really thought about what could make a difference. And we thought a mandatory program where we had always strongly encouraged and had an expectation, but we came short, as many firms do, of saying that it was mandatory, it was required.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided that the way to get folks in the door was by saying it was required, by making it required. And I've always felt that if I could get attorneys to do pro bono, the pro bono work itself would be the selling point.
Right.
That, once someone started doing it, they would be coming back for more. And I can't tell you, it has made me so pleased and so happy to see that that's really proven to be true. We had particularly some of our senior partners who had just gotten away from doing pro bono. It just wasn't part of their practice. It's not that they were against pro bono. It just wasn't part of their day-to-day. With the requirement, they started doing it, and they love it. It's so nice to see. We have so many of our partners, for example, do here in Philadelphia our Senior Law Center Legal Clinic, where they come and we hold monthly clinics, and they do wills and living wills and powers of attorney for low-income seniors. And they sign up for every single one, and they love it, and they're great with the clients. And these were guys who really had not done a lot of pro bono previously, and it's really been nice to see. So I really think the mandatory program, it's the key to get folks in the door, and from there, the pro bono work does the rest.
Mm-hmm. And did you encounter any difficulties implementing a mandatory pro bono policy?
Actually, it went a lot smoother than I expected. It was really well received. The associates were really excited. The partners were receptive. There were a couple of folks who were more skeptical, but they came around too, and they found really interesting projects. I think they had some misconceptions about what pro bono was, and particularly for transactional attorneys, or perhaps those, for example, I don't know, not to pick on them, but the patent attorneys, for example, what were they going to do that was pro bono? And once we found them great opportunities, they were really on board and they were excited. And our participation was over 99% last year. And our hours, our pro bono hours per attorney really soared too. So as I said, I think that once people started doing it, they really enjoyed it and they came back for more.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And did you find that there was sort of, I would imagine there might be an end of the year stampede to get pro bono projects from you, or do you have to do anything to avoid this happening, or?
Well, I certainly tried. We did a lot of education and outreach last year. We sent personal emails once a quarter to every attorney that laid out exactly where they were and how many more hours they had to meet the requirement. And then at the bottom of the email, we gave them a list of maybe 20 pro bono opportunities and how to sign up for them. My real goal was to not have anyone be able to say to me, well, you didn't provide me with opportunities.
Right.
And I think, I actually didn't hear that from anyone. So I guess that goal was accomplished. We send out, in addition to the regular emails and outreach that we do, we send on the first of every month a menu of opportunities to everyone. And we really utilized our local office-wide pro bono committees. I mean, they really were superstars, and they deserve so much of the credit for making this happen. I mean, they're really on the ground, getting people to go to different pro bono clinics, getting them interested in different cases, supporting them. They're really terrific.
Can you talk a little bit more about your own path and how you came to have the position you're in now?
Sure, of course. Well, I was a litigator and a litigation associate at another firm, and I'd always done a ton of pro bono my entire career, even as a paralegal before I went to law school. And I received a call from the managing partner at Blank Rome, who I happened to know, and he was very interested in starting a pro bono program here. And he asked whether I would be interested in moving over from my firm and becoming an associate in the litigation department, but also spending at that point 50% of my time managing the pro bono program. So I came over. I was thrilled. It was honestly my dream job, and it still is. And I came over and very quickly realized that 50% of my time was not nearly enough to coordinate and facilitate a program for a firm this size. And so it quickly grew and is now close to 100%. I still do maintain a small billable practice, mostly out of really, making great connections with my clients and enjoying that work that I do as well. So I have a small billable practice. I do quite a bit of pro bono work myself. I'm a child advocate representing abused and neglected kids in dependency court here in Philadelphia. I've done some immigration pro bono work, and I was one of the lead attorneys on our firm's former death penalty case. So we got our client off a death row, and now we are trying to get him a new trial on the guilt side, his conviction. That's my background.
Oh, wonderful. And what's changed the most since you've been in your position?
Oh, gosh. At Blank Rome or overall?
Or either at the firm or in the pro bono landscape overall?
Well, in the pro bono landscape overall, I would say that, there's so much more infrastructure and so many more. I started doing this in 2002, and it was still a relatively new profession to be running a pro bono program in a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
There were certainly folks doing it, but not nearly in the numbers that there now are. And I can remember going to my first Pro Bono Institute seminar, which was such an incredible resource for a new attorney starting off in this position. And I went to the Pro Bono 101 session, and I swear it was the best thing I ever did. I think it was maybe a week after I started at the firm. It was perfect timing. And now I feel like there's so much more information and so much more structure in our profession.
Mm-hmm. And what's the pro bono culture like in Philadelphia as a city?
Oh, it's fantastic. I feel really lucky to be practicing here. We have an amazing public interest bar with really some incredible work being done. So we have a really terrific public interest bar here in Philadelphia. I mean, they're really doing some amazing cutting edge work, and they are very collaborative, really great about bringing in pro bono attorneys. And I would say that the one thing I have noticed that I think is a defining aspect of Philadelphia, because I do coordinate firm-wide, is just how collaborative the firms and the public interest organizations are, how much we work together seamlessly. I'm regularly planning clinics with my colleagues at other law firms. We're really, working together with in-house corporate counsel on pro bono, working with 3 or 4 different public interest organizations. We all really get along very well, and everybody is focused on the same goal, which is meeting the unmet need. So it's a lot of fun to work in the public interest community here.
Your firm has been involved in the Clemency Project, which is a Department of Justice initiative started back in 2014. Can you discuss what that's been like and what your experience has been being involved in that?
Oh, sure. Well, that's been amazing, and I have to tell you, it surprised me a little bit in how great it's been. And what I mean by that is I expected that we would have some attorneys interested. I had no idea the reception that this opportunity will get. We sent it out. There's a terrific associate in our D.C. office by the name of Ariel Glasner, who's a white-collar associate in that office, and just a really terrific attorney, very involved in pro bono and on the pro bono committee in Washington. And he brought the opportunity to my attention, and he helped me to circulate it and advertise it to the attorneys firm-wide. And we had, at last count, I don't have an exact number, but somewhere around 100 attorneys who signed up to do the training and to take cases through the Clemency Project, which was just a staggering number, I thought. And people have really enjoyed the experience. We've partnered attorneys up. They were a little intimidated. Some of the non-litigators and the non-criminal attorneys were a little intimidated by some of the sentencing issues, but they soon realized they had great support, and they really have enjoyed what they've been doing.
Oh, wow. That's great to hear because I would imagine it's a difficult area of law to get involved in if you're not familiar
Indeed.
with it. And the training's pretty extensive, right? Is that?
It's very extensive, and we are fortunate to have some really great former AUSAs who have agreed to be internal mentors as well. So that's given a level of comfort that's been helpful in addition.
And overall, I guess, just from what I've been reading, we've been kind of keeping up with the Clemency Project here. We've done some blog posts on it, and it hasn't, the number of inmates who have actually been pardoned or had their sentences commuted hasn't really reached the level of what they anticipated at the beginning. So
Right.
what's your take on this? I'm just curious to know.
Well, we still have a lot in the pipeline, so we're still hopeful that we'll have some approved and some approved soon. We certainly saw a lot that did not qualify. I mean, obviously the requirements are stringent, as they should be. But even for those who are reviewing petitions or potential clients who didn't qualify, I think they appreciated the experience. They saw it as part of the overall effort. So even if the clients that they were reviewing didn't qualify, they saw it as helping this overall effort, which they viewed obviously as very important and something that they wanted to help with. So I didn't get any grumbling about folks who were working with clients who didn't make the cut for clemency.
You mentioned earlier another one of Blank Rome's pro bono initiatives, partnering with the Senior Law Center. And I just wanted to discuss this a little further. It's a great example of kind of a regular long-term pro bono project, and it's been very successful, it seems. So how do you keep that going, and how do you sustain interest?
Oh, sure. Well, again, this is really a great example of where the pro bono work itself is the great I guess, motivator, and I don't have to do a lot of selling. We've been doing these clinics for about 4 or 5 years. We do them monthly with the Senior Law Center, and they have been almost an instant hit. We do wills, living wills, and powers of attorney for low-income seniors. We do them sometimes in the community, although recently we've been doing them in our office. We handle anywhere from 20 to 40 clients in one clinic, and they're usually a morning clinic only. They're obviously very attractive for those attorneys who say, I really want to be involved in pro bono, but I can't take something on that's going to perhaps be indefinite. I need to be able to plan and say, okay, on that Tuesday morning, I'm going to do pro bono, but it's limited and discreet, and I'll be done when the clinic ends. So you combine that with the fact that it's a limited opportunity, but it's also a really important one. And, I found that it's that great combination of being able to have a discrete opportunity, but also accomplish a lot in a very short period of time, because there's nothing worse than busy work, right? And nobody wants to go and just, spend a couple of hours at a clinic but not really accomplish anything, or feel like they didn't really help anybody. And so with these clinics, it's great because the clients come in and they're nervous and they have these big decisions to make, and it really is daunting for them. And they sit and they are able to have these really meaningful interactions with the attorneys, make these difficult decisions, feel like they, had somebody really listen to them and help them with this, and then they leave and their documents are finished, and it's a huge relief. And the clients are really very very appreciative, very sweet. There's often folks giving hugs to their attorneys, and it has a warm feeling. It's really it's kind of just a great example of the ways that you can do pro bono in a short amount of time, but really feel great about the difference that you're making.
Absolutely.
And also Senior Law, I really have to give them a huge shout out. I mean, they're such a wonderful partner. They support us. They help us with the legal issues, and they arrange for all the clients, and they're just a fantastic partner. And it's also been a great partnership to bring in some of our in-house corporate clients. So corporate legal departments have really enjoyed coming over and participating with us in these clinics, I think for a lot of the reasons that I outlined.
Do you have any tips for partnering with corporate legal departments?
Well, I would say, I think it's like anything else with pro bono management and recruitment. It's really getting to know the attorneys from that in-house legal department and figuring out what their needs are, what's going to work for them time-wise, interest-wise, logistically, geographically, putting aside some of their, or I should say, I guess, helping them to resolve some of their concerns or issues like, malpractice coverage, things like that, the support that they need, the training. So figuring out really where their interests are, just as I would with my internal firm attorneys, is really, I think, the most important thing. And I do think that so far, although I'm always interested in exploring other models, but I definitely like the limited clinical type models. I think they tend to work the best for partnerships, but not exclusively.
And do you partner with legal departments on any other pro bono matters?
We also partner with an in-house legal department on adopting a homeless, a legal clinic at a homeless shelter through the Homeless Advocacy Project. And we've done others as well. We're doing one with another in-house department on guardianship matters, where we're actually working with them on the petitions and on representing family members who are seeking to become the guardians of incapacitated family members. So that's another model, and we're always looking for more. I think it's a great way for all of us to work together, support each other, and help to get more pro bono work done.
So stepping back a bit and thinking kind of bigger picture, what are your pro bono goals for this year and maybe the next few years as well?
Well, I guess my big goal is to make, I feel like last year was sort of a watershed year. I mean, we really increased our pro bono. It was our first full year of mandatory pro bono. As I said before, we did a lot of education, a lot of outreach, and we met our goals, which made me so happy. And now really my big goal is making sure that we don't slip back, that we maintain that it becomes truly part of our culture. I believe that it is, but I think it's kind of like when you talk about forming a habit, right? How many days do they tell you it takes to form a habit? Like 21? I think in making it part of the firm culture, I want to make sure that we have this steady rate of increased participation and that we keep growing it for several years so it becomes truly a bedrock and part of our culture. And I think it will. I think it is. But I'll never sort of rest easy till I see those results.
No, it certainly sounds like you're on track for that to happen. So
I hope so.
And to wrap things up, if you could change one thing about your firm's pro bono program or access to justice, what would that be?
Oh, gosh. Well, on the access to justice side, I would say that as much as obviously I love and support pro bono and it's the heart and soul of what I do, I would love to see many more legal services attorneys out there, funding for them, and more attorneys who are really, who are devoted and paid well, if I get to change things, for doing full time the really important public interest work that they are doing.
Well, Kathy, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. Thank you so much for your talking with us about your firm's pro bono program and for sharing your experiences.
It was my pleasure.
Again, that was Kathy Ochroch of Blank Rome. We thank Kathy for spending some time with us and talking about her firm's pro bono work. If you're looking for ways to improve your firm's pro bono performance, Kathy will be speaking at a session called 10 or More Tips for Boosting Your Firm's Pro Bono Performance. It will be on Wednesday, March 23rd. Don't forget to visit www.probonoinst.org/conference for more information and to register for PBI's annual conference, which again will be held March 23rd to 25th right here in Washington, D.C. To listen to more podcasts in this series or learn about additional pro bono resources, visit www.probonoinst.org/podcast. If you're interested in having your firm featured on the Pro Bono Happy Hour, please email us at probono@probonoinst.org. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Pro Bono Happy Hour.